Friday, October 10th, welcome back to the Inside Scoop. Absolute torrential rain all morning here. The entire Keys are underwater. Streets are flooded. Combine all of this moisture with the king tides, and let me tell you something, you've got some issues, okay? But fortunately, it's going to dissipate more and more as the day progresses. Tomorrow, we're going to see a decrease in rain, and by tomorrow afternoonish, I think it's going to clear up and the weather's going to change, you know, and I'll tell you what, I think you're going to start to get your first feel of fall, so to speak. Less humidity, I mean, certainly no cold front or anything like that, but I think it's going to feel a lot different. Looks like Sunday, Monday, nice. By Tuesday, northeast 15 to 20, and it's going to get crappy. It's the bottom line. It's going to get nasty. You know, seas to 5-6 feet, and not a fun place to be for small boaters way offshore. So just keep in mind, you've got a couple of days coming up here. Take advantage of them before we get hit with this wind next week. There's a lot going on. Certainly, if you spend your time on the reef, you're going to again have opportunities with yellowtail snapper. There's been a surprisingly good showing of mutton snappers up and down on the reef line as well. Remember, these muttons are wanderers. They're not like a grouper or something that, you know, it's a snapper, and that mutton, he's going to cruise around looking for food right along the edge of, you know, grass beds, even in shallower water. I mean, they're crazy fish, you know, crazy adaptable, so to speak. So always be on the lookout for those bigger bites when you're fishing the reef. That yellowtail is, you know, could easily be a 15 to 18 pound mutton bite. Be ready for that. Not a lot of mangroves on the reef. There's a mix of some mackerel. There's some ceros. Some days you might see some ceros in your chum slick and be able to snatch a few ceros. And you may even get a surprise. You know, yellow jacks, not unheard of for a dolphin to be swimming on the reef. If the conditions are right, you just never know. So always have that bait ready for something. Cobia, let's not forget about cobia. Always have that spinning rod ready to throw a pinfish or something like that. A ballyhoo, a big pilchard. I mean, right? What could beat that? Again, it's an opportunity, and be ready for those opportunities on the reef. It's a great time of the season for that right now. The wreck fishing, same thing. You know, if you put in the time and the effort, you're going to have shots with mutton snappers. That's really the highlight on the wrecks right now. You know, and I want to remind you, here in the Keys, a lot of those wrecks are not big spots. Don't think you're looking for a giant freighter sitting on the bottom of the ocean. That isn't always the case. Sometimes those wrecks could be really small pieces, and that small piece is just big enough to hold some prey and to hold some predators. And oftentimes those smaller pieces are even better to fish. You seem to have a lot less of the sharks and the Goliath groupers and the big 5-foot-long barracudas, all of the stuff that steals or bites fish from you, right? You avoid a lot of those fish when you're targeting those smaller pieces of bottom. So don't overlook that fact, okay? And I want to remind you, don't always look for that big freighter sitting on the bottom of the sea. All right, it's a different scenario here, and the definition of a wreck across the Keys is different than it is in a lot of other places, okay? Working our way further offshore, the dolphin bite, the dolphin season that never ends isn't ending anytime soon. At least we don't see that. The guys that are putting in the time, the live bait, working the weed lines are finding plenty of schoolies. You're seeing dolphin being hung up everywhere. All right, there's plenty of action out there. Again, be conservation minded, you know, and this time of the year as the dolphin season kind of comes to a close, it's, you know, it's like everybody got their fill, so to speak, right? It's the tail end of the season. And even though you can encounter dolphin any time of the year, here it is heading to almost Halloween, okay, end of October. Yes, we're still seeing a good number of fish around, but it's certainly the backside of the season. So, like I said, a lot of guys have been pounding on these things for months now, and they're kind of over the dolphin bite. But get in on it while you can. There's some bigger fish. You never know when that bigger fish is going to pop up. That could happen anywhere at any time. That's one of the coolest things about dolphin fishing. I don't care what boat you're in or where you're fishing. It could be 300 or 3,000 feet of water, and boom, there's a big dolphin. Jumps on one of your lures, jumps on one of your baits, swims up alongside the boat. Does that ever happen to you, right? You're maybe deep dropping, you're wreck fishing, whatever. A lot of different things you could be doing, and suddenly, wow, there's this big old bull dolphin cruising up to, just an amazing sight. Really, really is. So be on the lookout for dolphin. If you're going to work offshore, certainly the areas around the humps, you can combine that with weed lines, combine that with a live well loaded with pilchards, and grand slam, baby, right there. So put the pieces to the puzzle together, put in the time, put in the effort. There's a lot of bait around. Get a lot of bait. I was just going out Sister Creek a few times recently in the dark, wahoo fishing early in the morning, and it's amazing how much bait just right to the lights under the boat, the Lumitech underwater lights. You look behind the boat, there's literally thousands of bait fish swarming the boat into the lights. So really a cool sight to see, and other reports I've heard, again, let me stress, there's a lot of bait around. So if you know where to get it, put in the time. If not, contact the local bait boats, and load up. If you can, make sure you get those small baits the morning of a trip. They don't do well in bait pens. Sometimes those baits there's cast nets thrown on those baits. You're obviously not going to sabiki 28,000 little pilchards 3 at a time. So, just remember what you're dealing with and prepare accordingly and fish accordingly. Blackfin tuna bite has been solid, steady, consistent, same thing, the humps, the bait. You can go out there, so many guys will tell you, hey, I went out to the humps and I was trolling around, a couple of feathers, whatever, and I had some action, but I was watching the guys throwing the live bait, catching the bigger fish. Yeah, those bigger fish didn't get big by being dumb, and when you throw live pilchards in and you're live chumming, it creates a feeding frenzy unlike anything else. And you can never duplicate that feeding frenzy with artificial lures. You can get pretty damn close, and that's what we're always trying to do, right, with artificial lures, is mimic that natural feeding scenario. But there's nothing out there like a net full of live pilchards. You can create that, and you're gonna be a rich man, I'll tell you that right now. So once you throw those baits in the water, like I said, it ignites an incredible bite and gets those bigger fish fired up, and they'll come up to investigate even from some deeper water to get their fair share. So really, really exciting stuff. The smaller fish will readily hit those lures, so it really depends on what you're looking for, right? The offshore deep drop bite has been excellent. A lot of queen snappers, again. You've seen us recently do a number of trips targeting these beautiful fish. What a great fishery that remains consistent, okay? On the subject of the queens, there's so much to learn about that deep water fishery. It's different than the shallower water areas where we're typically targeting the tile fish, the snowy groupers. Here when we're looking for those queens and the barrel fish, it's in really deep water. And just a lot of fascinating different elements come together to bring that fishery to life, and to be able to go out there and target those deep water predators, fish the right way, in the right place, hope you're doing the right thing, know you're doing the right thing, and score these, beautiful trophy queen snappers. That's the exact reason we recently launched an all-new interactive instructional fishing course, Deep Drop Ultra Max. Okay, guys, we're fishing water 1,000+ feet deep. Okay, we're talking about boat preparation, tackle preparation, rods, reels, line, leader, everything, baits, rigs, hooks, down to the lead, down to every single little nook and cranny that you can imagine. You're gonna walk away from a day on the water with me aboard our Mercury-powered Sea Hunter 41 CTS with all of the skills that you need to master the deep, locally and abroad, wherever you're fishing, around Florida or beyond, okay? And it's such a cool fishery, it really is. So learn more about this new course right here. We'll include the link in the description, and we'll see if it's something that's right for you. I personally really, really enjoy it. It's such a challenge. You know, it's such a challenge to go out there and find these fish and fish these harsh conditions. You know, sometimes there's not a lot of current. Best days, you know, a knot, 1.5, whatever, you're like, wow, there's no current. Other days, 5 knots of current and everything in between, and being able to adjust accordingly and understand, you know, the intimacies of your tackle to be able to do that, to provide the best presentation that you can where you really believe those fish are going to bite. And out there, look, let's face it, those are the 2 species that we're targeting, the queen snappers and the barrelfish. We're not looking for tilefish. We're not looking for groupers. Are there going to be bycatch of those species? Absolutely, because you never know what's going to eat your bait on the bottom. There's also all sorts of crazy stuff, alfonsinos, beardfish, bullseyes. That was a weird one that has been caught recently with these wicked eyes and this bright red oval kind of shaped body. So you just never know what's going to eat a bait down there. But you're primarily targeting the queens and the barrelfish. And that's a very specialized fishery, and each is unique in their own right. So to be able to spend time shortening that learning curve and out there fishing and doing it and targeting these and then getting bit, right? And fighting these fish all the way to the surface and all the way down to eating them for dinner. I mean, you know, the fruits of your labor, so to speak. Such an exciting fishery, really gets me fired up. And I'll tell you what, our Sea Hunter with the Furuno TZTXL network with the Bathy vision, that's really where this comes into play. Having that 3D image of the bottom, okay, everywhere I'm fishing, everywhere, and being able to manipulate that image and really get that clear understanding of that area. You know, you might be fishing in a neighborhood. I'm literally dropping my bait right at their doorstep, literally. Not out in the driveway or the street, on the doorstep. And you having that technology at your fingertips, man, it's such a tool. Look, you're still fishing, of course, right? It all comes down to the angler. It doesn't come down to the equipment. The equipment is just a tool, but it's what you do with it, and it's how you utilize that information, how you analyze it to lay that plan for you to go out and go, hey, that's where I'm going to target that species. And that's a fundamental across all of fishing. And to be able to do it in this deep water is awesome. And those tools enable us to do that, okay? It gives you the ability to sit right here at the dock, and research an area in incredible detail and outline very, very likely small areas where you know those fish are, you know, you're hoping and counting on those fish being held up right there. It's about saving time. It's about saving time, and time is money. I mean, let's face it, we're fishing areas that are 25 to 30 miles from shore. It's not a hop, skip, and jump, not the end of the world, and certainly a breeze in a quad-powered Sea Hunter 41 CTS, but nonetheless, it's a hike. And when you get there, you only have so much time to fish. There's only so many hours, right, before your day ends, for whatever reason it may be. How do you want to be spending those hours running around looking for likely areas to fish? Not me. I want to spend those hours fishing, okay? In every time in the strike zone, I want to be as efficient of a fisherman as I possibly can be. And I use those tools, okay? That's what really, for me, is one of the biggest game changers, you know, is having those tools to be able to invest the time in it, dissect an area, research it, and then go out with a plan of attack. And then you get out there and you drop where you know or believe they were going to be, and pow, bam, 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 you just get whacked as soon as you get to the bottom. You're like, I did it, I figured it out, so to speak. I cracked the code, even if it was for that one moment and that one fish, because it's changing, right? We all know that. And we all know the only guarantee in fishing is there are no guarantees, okay? That's the bottom line. Look, before I go on, you know, into some other species that I want to touch on, I want to just take a second. I just mentioned to you we're running offshore and fishing these deep areas. These runs lately have been the most smoothest and comfortable that I've ever done. Why? Because we made a big change. I recently mentioned it to you guys regarding installing the Seakeeper Ride system aboard our Sea Hunter 41 CTS. And I've gotten so many comments and questions, and people want more feedback and what's the real deal. And look, let me sum it up for you. It's an absolute game changer. There's no question. I wouldn't steer you in the wrong direction. I'm telling you that this is a piece of technology that has changed boating for me forever, okay? And it's changed boating forever. Look, it's Seakeeper. They know how to stabilize boats. It's technology that's inspired from what's happening in outer space, right? And they know what has to happen, and they're able to eliminate up to 70%, of roll and pitch and, you know, what you're feeling out there. How does it work? It's very simple. You've got some controllers, actuators that are on your transom. Either they're installed OEM right from the factory. There are different sizes for different configurations, everything from a single outboard to a quad powered boat, inboard boats. They're all sorts, V-hulls, cats, everything. And imagine you've got trim tabs. Well, not anymore. These are now your trim tabs. However, these trim tabs move 100 times a second. And again, they're not trim tabs, but I'm trying to say it in a way and paint the picture that's really easy to understand. The actuators move up and down. And by moving up and down at the precise moment and at the precise depth, it's able to minimize all of that movement that you're feeling. So you get a much smoother, straighter ride with far less input, human input, than you've ever had to do before. It's like taking a sedan and making it a coupe. It's changed the boating. It really makes running the boat so much fun. So such a comfortable ride. Much less input from the helmsman. Okay, and I don't care who you are. Your fingers cannot move as fast as the actuators. They're making a decision and moving 100 times a second. You couldn't possibly do that. As boaters, we get behind the wheel and we're running home from offshore, whatever it is that we're doing, and based on the conditions, we fine-tune our boat, trim it, whatever it is we're doing for the ideal ride in those conditions at that time. And we're making slight adjustments to either engine trim or trim tab control, right? That's typically how we boat. However, we can only move so fast and our equipment can only move so fast. Seakeeper Ride dominates by speed, okay? By speed. Literally moving those actuators independently, the controllers, the blades, that fast, 100 times a second. So before the boat is able, before you can feel the boat even listing to one side or the other, or pitching or rolling or whatever it may be, it's made the adjustment. And it eliminates all of that movement, slows it down dramatically. It's an incredible system, incredibly easy to install, either new or retrofit. Even if you have trim tab, they make a trim tab pocket kind of gig that fits right in place. All of the components are completely sealed, so really maintenance free. The best thing is it's turnkey. You literally get on your boat, you turn the key, and you go. You make no adjustments, none. Can you? Absolutely. You can go in and manually manipulate the system, manipulate the blades, do all sorts of stuff. But you don't have to, nor should you. You literally turn the key and go. And Seakeeper Ride is making all of the decisions for me. I'm getting out of the hole faster. Best yet, I'm at easily 6 to 8% increased fuel efficiency. 6 to 8%. That was a surprise that I never expected, okay? Never expected. Just icing on the cake. I'm getting a far better ride, a far more enjoyable boating experience, and I'm saving fuel, a lot of fuel. When you're running quad Mercury V10 400s and you do a lot of trips, you go through a lot of fuel, inevitably. So even 1% of that number is substantial. 6 to 8% is a big number. It's a big number. It really is. More importantly, It's the comfort. You literally are in just a more enhanced boating experience, okay? That's the best way for me to say it. And it's something that you've got to experience for yourself to truly appreciate. I could sit here and tell you all that I want. It doesn't matter. You have to see it for yourself. So if you have an opportunity to, hey, make sure you check out Seakeeper Ride at the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. I know they're going to be there. Or, of course, make sure you come check out Sea Hunter Boats. Every single Sea Hunter model, listen to what I'm saying. Every single Sea Hunter model comes standard with the Seakeeper Ride system. This company, Sea Hunter, is standing behind their boat saying, hey, we want to provide every one of our owners, every one of our buyers with the most comfortable, best boating experience possible. So they've taken it upon themselves to do all of the testing and the research and dialing it all into what a difference of experience it really is, and now offering it on every single boat standard. So keep that in mind. Come check it out again at the upcoming Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show and see it for yourself. If you want to experience Seakeeper Ride out on the water, give me a shout. I'll be happy to take you out. Okay, we've done extensive testing. I had the Seakeeper engineers on my boat with me just a few days ago. And I'll tell you what, I was astounded. I really was astounded. But I don't need numbers, percentages, okay, to tell me, hey, this is what we reduced it by. It's just the feel alone is enough exhilaration, so to speak. And it allows you at the helm, you know what I found? It allows me to even focus more on what's happening in front of me and having more situational awareness, because literally I'm getting the best performing ride that I possibly can in any conditions with zero input from me, just overseeing it. It's a game changer. So, look, a lot of other stuff going on, guys. We are finally wrapping up our new angling retreat in the Florida Keys Fishing Academy. I mean, this has just been definitely dragging on longer than anticipated, but I'm okay with that. Nothing good is easy. This is the first of its kind. Okay, no one has ever done this before. But my vision, I'm bringing it to reality. I'm bringing it to you, and we're almost there. Very, very close. I'm excited to soon be releasing more information about the academy and our upcoming courses. In the meantime, continue to follow us here. Look, it's still absolutely pouring outside. Crazy this morning. It really is. That being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, I got to go deal with all of this. But nevertheless, this upcoming few days, like I said, I want to remind you, get out there if you can, all right? Sunday, Monday, because early next week, it does look like conditions are going to deteriorate, and the wind is going to clock around, west, northwest, north, all the way to the northeast, and that's going to change the game. I suspect after that blow, the fishing's going to be even better. The wahoo bite's going to be even better. There's a lot of wahoo around, guys. I want to tell you that. Surprising number, in my opinion, and some big fish around too. Kudos to a buddy of mine, Scott Roetzer. Fished with his buddy recently, man. I don't know if I take a guess from the photo, 60, 65, nice fish, a really, really nice fish for this time of the year locally. So you just, once again, never know what's going to jump on your bait when you're out there. And it really is getting off to a great wahoo season. I'm super excited about it. To learn more about wahoo fishing here in the Keys and beyond, we're always happy to help. Make sure you catch up on a bunch of our videos. But if there's something specific that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. That being said, guys, have a good weekend. Be safe out there. All right. And I'll see you next week.